Hey everyone, this is Heini, the founder of Vivino and host of this podcast. Today we're going to peek behind the scenes with customer support. So what happens backstage if an order doesn't arrive, what could go wrong, and what usually goes well. We're also going to talk about AI and how that's, changing that industry a little bit. So look forward to that. Today's guest is Silje Stougaard, our VP of Global Operations. Silje, welcome to the Vivino podcast.
Thank you so much, Heini.
Let's start with before. Where did you come from?
So before Vivino, I have worked in multiple industries. I always worked in customer experience, but I worked in the big Danish company called Jysk.
Oh, it's a global company.
It's a global company working with customer services, implementing customer services and in multiple countries, and implementing technology. Phone systems and how that is created together, how they go together nicely. Then I worked in finance. Oh,
what kind of finance?
Like insurance and banking.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, that's like really. But it can sound boring, but it's a complex world of compliance. So for a person like me, it's really interesting to try to navigate.
There are things you can say, there are definitely things you can't say.
Exactly.
I would not do well in that industry.
I think you will get some bumps on the way. But also working on the technical part of customer services and as a product owner of Salesforce. Yeah. So I've been working in multiple industries, and also, and way before that, I worked in telco, which like when you had like buttons on your phone.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Okay.
When you have ringtones.
Yes.
Yeah, So now I'm VP of Global Operations. I have a team that is responsible for everything that touches the wine. So that's from when the contract are signed with the winery, how we transport that into the warehouse, from the warehouse out to the customers, and then if something happens. Also customer services.
Which does happen,
That happens, also customer services. And then I also own or responsible for the systems, enable systems for all of that operations. Okay. So it's, everything, that's the wine journey instead of just the customer journey, but it's the journey from the wine, from the vineyard to the customers and maybe back and forth again. Okay,
cool. So first one, obviously, your book should be called From Pillows to Wine.
Yes.
That's obvious. But when that comes out, it's going to be that. The other thing I want to touch upon, which is throughout your career, the communication channels have changed a little bit, right? So when you were back at a telco, obviously, they like phones, right?
They like phones.
So how was that back then?
So phones were a big part of it in customer services. IVRs like press 1, press 2, all of that has been automated in the last years. So you can call and then they can see your number. Back then it was like, I've been with the company for 5-10 years, but you're still asking for my name and my social security number every time that you call, just because then I can find you in my system. But now everything pops up on the screen. Totally. We know who you are. We know your lifetime value. We know insurance, for example. We know your kids. We know everything. We know how you, what you buy, how much money you spend, and a lot of that data can be used today to actually personalize the journey for the customer.
We know the most important thing: what wine you drink.
We know what wine you drink. So it has changed a lot. But if you think about it, technology has changed. You don't put gas on your car. Maybe you have electric car.
I don't have any cars. So.
You don't have any cars. No. Okay. But back in the days, you put gas on your car, but you didn't do it yourself. You had somebody else doing it for you. Things like that. When you have to buy a soda, you can just put it in a machine. Before you needed to go and buy it from somebody. All those small changes in technology and also automation will also come to.
And we're just used to interacting like that. When you go to a fast food restaurant, there is a screen and the people, someone's talking to somebody over there. What are they doing? And that has changed in like the last 2-3 years, right? Yeah. Exactly. So we're used to dealing with that. Okay.
And also checkouts. In grocery stores, supermarkets.
Totally.
I would rather do things myself instead of. I love people. I love interactions. I love relations. But I don't need a relationship with the cashier.
Beep.
No, I
with
don't.
The beep person?
I would really just like to buy strange things myself without looking somebody in the eye while I'm buying.
And it's like, Why did you buy this?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like,
okay.
That doesn't fit together.
No. I agree. I'm very much like that too.
Yeah.
And obviously, on top of that, we have all these users that use the app.
Yeah.
And they will also get in touch with us once in a while, right?
Yes.
And I think one thing I want to dig a little bit into is what are we dealing with, or how big is this, and so on? Because Vivino is a global brand, and sometimes when we talk to people, they think we're bigger than we are. But we are 160 people or something like that. But our brand is global. Everyone who drinks wine knows it. But let's dig into some numbers there. What do you say? What are you dealing with here?
So from Europe, we ship around 1.2 million bottles out from the warehouse. We have only 36 agents in the customer services outsourced. We have 2 tier 3s, that's the back-end agent in Vivino, and with 1 director of customer services. So this is a really small
So basically 3 people inside Vivino.
3 people
with
inside
38
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And we have over 455,000 interactions with customers a year.
Yeah. Okay.
So it also means, just to break down the numbers a bit, it also means that we have 1 agent per 1.8 plus million users.
Yeah.
That's a huge amount to cover, and also taking in consideration that this is in different languages.
Yeah. So if you sort of slice up the cake, it becomes really small, and for smaller languages, we just don't have a lot of people, right?
No, if you see Denmark is a big Vivino country with a lot of users. We only have 1 agent.
Yeah.
1 Danish-speaking agent, but also because of translations and help from different systems, we can actually automate and translate some of the communication.
Yeah. So you said 400 and something thousand every year. I mean, quick math, that is just, let's say 1,200, 1,300 every single day inbound, right?
Yes.
I also can't help thinking about when people give me feedback on something, like, yeah, we get a lot of feedback.
Yeah, we get a lot of feedback, and we have a lot of opinions, and there are a lot of people supporting Vivino. I think that's
which is amazing. We appreciate that.
It's a love brand.
Yeah.
Like every time I go out, just through security, right?
Yeah.
People stop you and say, like, stop, and I'm like, oh. What have I done?
Did you bring a knife?
And they're like, yeah, exactly. Where did I put my knife? No, I didn't do that. But they're like, love the brand.
Yeah.
So the feedback that we're getting are normally, it's really high love in the feedback. Also, people want us to succeed.
Exactly.
Of course, they also want their wine.
Yes,
but
they do too.
That's,
you feel that sometimes.
I feel that sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So that sort of sets the stage a little bit. That relatively small team dealing with a lot, and you actually started post-COVID, but COVID would also like that everything exploded. But since then, we've actually lowered our cost quite a bit, and you had to deal with all that. So let's dig into how you sort of started solving that problem.
Yeah, so only 2 years ago, we were over 150 agents globally, and now we're 36. So that demands some automation and some process optimizations, simplification of some of the processes, and also make it simple for the customers, but also for the agents. To lower cost, we cut down on some of the channels.
Yeah, channel meaning email, chat, phone, whatever it is.
Also on social media, for example. You often see people, if you recognize this, like starting a chat.
Yeah.
Then you don't get any response on the chat. Then you start the phone call. And if you don't get a response there, and you're waiting in queue, and like you're number 2 in queue and press 1 or 2, then you also open up your email, because now we have our laptop, we have our different channel communication just in front of us. You didn't have that like 10 years ago. You had a landline, or maybe longer ago, but then you were just sitting and waiting. Sure. Then it makes sense. So now we narrowed it down. We actually only have chatbot communication as it is right now. Okay,
so meaning chat, but there are humans behind, and we'll dig into that in a second. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, certain markets, specifically the US, it's incredibly phone-driven when it comes to everything. And when I was there, just call this number, and I just hated it because it's just so inefficient, right?
Yes.
But I will say, service in the US on the phone is incredibly good. They have become incredibly good at it.
Yeah.
I have one story, though, that when you talk to some agents, they can never say no.
No.
The train. So yes, we can't do that. This is
Yes,
like, that's
yes,
the weirdest thing.
like-
Yes, no,
like-
yes, we can't do that. It's like, okay, what does that mean?
Yeah.
That's still a no. Anyway,
It's like
sorry.
shaking your head and saying yes. Like,
Yes, we can't do
how
that.
are you?
Yeah.
I'm good. Like, no.
That's what it feels like. So yes, go ahead.
But in the US, it is also the biggest phone market that we have.
Yeah.
But it's still only with 27% of the communication goes through phone.
Okay.
It's a rather small amount
Yeah.
compared to the complexity
Yeah.
of. If you have an agent talking on the phone, you can't do anything else, but you can handle 5 chats at a time.
Not to talk about misunderstandings and what was your number again, and it just is so inefficient. It's hard to copy and paste into voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So what did we do when we sort of cut it down?
So we started to making all our processes global. So instead of having different markets with different processes, different procedures, so the agent was tied to only one market, then we could have global processes. Okay. And then we closed down social. We made an automation on our email saying if we could resolve this within some of our knowledge base, it would be a response. It was actually a chatbot on email.
Okay.
So we started doing that and trying to find out which one-offs. So that's what we call it, first-time resolution in customer service lingo.
Yeah.
What we could resolve there, because some of the one of the things that are really important is that the one-offs, like reset password, things that you can actually get without having multiple interactions with
and just solve in a great way with one link or one email, right?
Yeah. But it's that doesn't create any value to get to an agent, because if it's resolved with one interaction, it shouldn't even be an issue.
No.
You should be able to automate a password being sent to you.
Totally.
So we cut down on these things and trying to prioritize which part of the communication channels that we had to like narrow down. And we are in the process now of closing off phones for all markets. And cascading all communication into the chatbot. And the chatbot meaning, and that's important, that you have an agent to help you if something goes wrong.
Yeah. You say chatbot, and I could interpret that as if it's a bot, but it's a chat. And it can be a bot and it can be, we can dig further into that, but it's a chat, right? So everything's going into chat.
Yes.
And obviously I didn't decide this, but for me, that is the best channel. As a user too, I love that channel.
Yes. I think it can provide the agents at the back end with the details that they need. So it can also be the filter instead of having a form for your email, like you have to fill out with order numbers and things like that. The chatbot can create all this information.
Yeah.
So it makes it easier, and you have less interactions with the agent. So you don't need to, when you go through and get to the chat with the agent, you don't have to give all that information, and that's valuable. That's expensive time.
Yeah, because you get context right away.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
I know everything.
Very cool. So you can try and shut down these channels, but there will still be something. So sometimes it happens that my Instagram pops up or my LinkedIn pops up and says, "Hey, where's my order?" And I'm not sort of directly involved. I don't look at every order. What usually goes wrong when that happens?
So I think it can be multiple issues. This happens sometimes. Let's just be honest.
It does happen
and then you contact me on
to
Slack.
say, what the fuck?
What the fuck's here? What's happening here? And then I contact my director of global support. She contacts the tier 3 within the market. That person, back-end agents, contacts customer services, ask for a full view of the case. That means that the customer service center really tries to gather all the information, and then they write back to the back-end agent, writes back to the the director of global support. She contacts you and I. And when it comes back to you, it's usually already resolved.
Yeah. Although this all happens in 24 hours, it's still.
Exactly.
But when it does happen, why do you think? Is it because you were overloaded and then suddenly took 48 hours instead of 12 hours, or what do you think happens?
Yeah, I think it can happen with the patience of getting the answer. Sometimes, because we also have a lot of merchants on our platform, we need to get the information from the merchants to the customer services to the customer. So that part of the communication where we are the bottleneck in customer services, or we are waiting for some information, that can take longer. So we are not always we can't always decide which solution to make, because we need to solution to.
We're mostly a marketplace, so we rely on others to do these things,
yes,
and sometimes there can be delays in it.
Yes.
Okay, so it's the patient that sort of runs out. I will say,
and sometimes things just fucks up.
Some things go wrong. And look, I'm a pretty impatient person, but sometimes people are extreme. Oh, you don't be nodding there. But sometimes people can be extremely impatient, right? And sometimes there can be sort of contradictions. I got one last week which said something like, look, I've tried every single channel, nobody's responding, and they're saying I'm getting a refund. It's like, okay, how is nobody responding and they're saying you're getting a refund? So they're a little bit weird. They seem like they've been typed like at a fast pace.
You can also build out a lot of anger sitting by yourself in front of you. We know that from trolls and feeds and people that comments on things. So you can build up a lot of anger if you don't get a response, or maybe don't get the response that you want. And I think that's also something to think about, like how you react. It's people. Even though that it's a bot that starts it, there will be people, agents at the end of the line, and we are still just trying to do the best services that we can.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So the next thing I want to dig into is, because we talk about over 1,000 requests every single day, they're not equal.
No.
So how do you prioritize that?
We prioritize it the way where all users are the same. Like, we don't have VIP users. We don't have somebody who is more valued than others. We try to treat the community equal. Then we prioritize the cases that we can resolve where they don't snowball. So for example, change an address. Like if I do that 2 days after, it's already shipped out. And then we have a lot of hustle afterwards. So trying to resolve the cases.
If there's a leak, stop that.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So that's the top priority.
That's the top priority.
So when someone really rich orders a $10,000 order, that doesn't go up in. No. Oh, we're going to change that. No.
I think it's a part also of the DNA. Of course, if it's an order where we need to be really careful of the wines because it's expensive wines, there's a difference. But I also think it's a part of the community and the DNA in Vivino is that we don't segment just because you have an order. No. It's still, if it's a cheaper wine, it's still the right match for you. And that makes it the same if it's an expensive wine.
Sure. Yeah. And people, they buy whatever they want to buy, whatever budget they have. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So another, we touched on this a little bit, but the other thing here is that we talk about the size of the company, which looks big and isn't, but also international. Like we have users in every single country in the world, and we don't have wines being sold in every single country in the world. That's 60-70% of our users have access to that. But now we have premium users also in every single country in the world. So how do you deal with that and languages and so on? How many do we have and so on?
So we have over 10 languages. We have 16 markets that we're in when selling wine. So those are the markets that we support with the different languages. So we support, but now with closing the phones and looking into translation tools, you could actually have every single language because it's written communication that is translated live. So if I'm writing an email, a respond, or not an email, but a chat respond to you, that will be directly translated into the language that you want. And it's actually being done right now in the chat. So you can write in your language, whatever in Danish, and it will translate it to Danish.
I'm going to test that, see if they can do Faroese.
See. Maybe that's not.
We'll see how that goes.
But we can make that happen. Yes.
But I've been so impressed. But I think that's also a good segue into the next thing, which is, okay. So we've talked about AI bots for a very long time.
Yes.
But then 2 years ago, whenever it was something really happened, we went sort of next level on that. Let's dig into like us and general. What do you see there? What's happening there?
Yeah, it was November 1.5 years ago when everything exploded on the AI side. And I think customer services is one of the places where you will see some of the biggest changes first. Then there you have other things. But we have been working with chatbots for a long time.
Yeah.
I see that we have in Vivino built flows that are not automated as is right now. Only 4% of companies in the world are using AI as it is right now.
Yeah.
52%.
Everyone's talking about it, though.
Everyone is talking about it. 52% have started playing with it, but they haven't really implemented the real AI resolutions or solutions. So I think for us, we have been a front runner on the scanning. We also wanted to narrow down for the chatbot, and that is also a focus where I think we can benefit so much. Also because of the languages. Being so big, having so many languages, and then transitioning into AI, it's also helping customer service agents to just say, it's almost only just pressing a yes or no, because the AI bot can write everything for you, saying with this cultural language, with this request, we know the data says that this would be the answer. Yeah. Would you accept it? Yes or no? And then it can be translated. So for us, I think it's a huge opportunity because we have worked on narrowing down the channels so we can focus on the chat instead of focusing on multiple things.
Doing this by phone would be harder. Today, it's going to come too.
It's going to come, but it's not as developed as language. It's the different language systems. Yeah. So I think we have started the journey of making it possible for us to do it. Okay.
So the bots we have today, are they relatively simple or are they proper AI bots or?
We have 80 flows as it is right now. Yeah. So it's rather simple because it's manual. Every time we change something, it's manual. Okay. At the end of this year, Q3, Q4, ready for peak, in Black Friday, we should have an automated chat.
Okay, so that's a real bot.
Yes, but it's still a real bot. It's like
you really want to control this, right?
Yeah.
You don't trust this at all.
I trust it a lot.
Okay.
I trust it a lot. But again, there's only 4% of all companies having
I only care about that.
But only having real AI. But when we talk about bots, we think that we talk about AI bots.
They're just programmed things.
They're programmed.
Automations, whatever.
Yes, exactly. It's like robots automation. Yeah. It's not the same as an AI bot.
No, totally.
But you can have really good experiences with a robot program bot. But there's a lot of bots.
Yeah, bots and bots.
Let's have some but the AI is really, I'm not afraid of it. I embrace it. I think that's the only way to go. But we have to be aware that it's not just a technology that everybody knows a lot about.
No, that's true. And like you say, people claim that they do it and so on, but it's also, I would assume customer support is very short tail heavy. So whatever top 3 problems is 80% or something.
Exactly.
Why would you use a bot? But one thing you could use a bot for is just conversation. Yeah. Which you can't program yourself out of, right? No. You can program yourself out of. Yeah. But with conversation, you could use a real bot.
We actually tried to implement an AI conversational bot at the beginning of when we implemented the chatbot. Yeah. The funny thing here is that if the technology is not good enough, people get annoyed by hello, Heini, how's it going?
Are you a human? That's what I say.
How is it going? I could see your last order, but then if you go to your real problem and when you have your issue and it can't help you, you just get annoyed because then it's too fake. Yeah. So you need to have a really good technology and build the right foundation, the data foundation below before you can actually start to implement it.
Although it's just a layer of bullshit on top, right?
Exactly, and we removed it. We actually removed it because it gave us such a bad customer experience, that we removed it again and says, this is a bot. We can give me your order number, give me what is it about, how can I help you, and then being more transactional instead of being fluff and nice phrases.
You don't need extra fluff. So, but you are saying that 2 quarters from now you are planning to do that. Okay. So have things changed, or why is that?
If it has changed.
Yeah, have they gone because? Or is it because our foundation is better, or is it because the bots have become better?
The bots have become better.
Yeah, and probably our foundation is probably better too.
And our foundation, you can never build the roof on a bad data foundation.
No. That's then you're just really bullshitting. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So one more thing I want to touch on here is the industry we're in, right?
Yeah.
Because we're in our DNA very much a tech company. But the industry we're in is the wine industry, which is agriculture, farming, and so on, and really has done really well with not changing too much.
Yeah.
So are they ready for all of this?
I think it's a good question, but I think we need to push them. Yeah. We can't keep having old communication channels or old ways of doing things to support old ways of thinking.
No.
So for me, we need to push the customers to communicate where it makes sense and where we can simplify, optimize, and automate.
Okay, but yes. So we're going to raise the bar on this, but
yes.
Yeah, and what are you getting from it? Are they saying no, or what are they doing?
I think it's normal in humans when things change that you're like, I liked it better the other way.
Yeah.
I liked it better when we could send a fax, or that's what I'm used to, or make a phone call. Some are used to that, but if we keep opening for a small part of that, it's not simplified.
No.
So we need to push people.
This is how we do it.
This is how we do it. And I was actually saying, okay, maybe we can keep one phone open to make some emergency calls. And our global customer service directors, he says no, we need to keep this. If we make a decision, we need to stick to it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I really respect that.
Yeah.
That we make this decision. Then we can. In the beginning, there will be a lot of fuss, and there has been.
Yeah.
And it's not perfect. This is also a technology and a way of working that's in progress.
Yeah.
I can't sit and wait. We're not that big of a company.
No.
That we sit and wait till everything is nice and polished, and then we start implementing it. I need to implement, test, go a bit back, test again, and then do it in the pace while we're building the ship while we're sailing.
Yeah, and you need the courage to make those decisions, because it's easy just to keep everything as is. But if someone's pushing you, you have to do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. It's of course it's a cost saving, but I also believe strongly that this is the right direction.
Yeah, I agree too. Okay, I love numbers, so we're going to talk numbers.
Yes.
Vivino is sometimes perceived as a huge company because we're, the biggest player in wine. Everyone drinks wine, knows about Vivino, but really quite a small company.
Yes.
So the perception is why doesn't somebody respond to my request within 14 seconds? They're so big and so powerful. But let's dig into those numbers. What are they like?
So the big numbers is that we had over 450,000 interactions last year with customers. So we have over 68 million users. Yeah. But in my team of customer services, I have one director and I have 2 back-end agents. Yeah. That's internally.
So 3 people.
3 people.
Yeah.
And internally in Vivino. Then all our customer services, talking to the customers, are outsourced. And then you think, we have a big team of that. 36 in total. Global to handle 68 million.
Yeah. And 1,200, 1,300 requests every single day,
yes,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's not a huge team. And what are the ratios there? What is that per agent? What is it?
So one agent handles 1.8 plus million users. Yeah. So if you have to box it in...
It's a lot of weight on their shoulders.
Yes, it is. And there's a lot of interactions because it's also divided into different languages.
Yeah.
So you can't... In Denmark, for example, where we have, I think, over 2 million users, we have one agent. So if we really mess up one campaign in Denmark, that agent is going to be really
Very
busy.
busy.
If we don't have automations, if we don't have language systems or translations.
Yeah, and these things don't hit equally, right?
Nope.
Like you say, one thing hit in Denmark one day because of a holiday or a campaign or something, right?
Exactly.
And then there's one person overloaded, yeah.
One truck being delayed.
Yeah.
It all comes from the same warehouse.
Yeah.
If something is blocked there,
You're in trouble.
shit will hit the fan.
Yeah. And it's hard for the German speakers to speak Danish, it turns out.
Yeah, and that's why we will close down the voice channel, because it's much easier to control when you do translations in written communication.
So actually, in this industry, things go up and down.
Yes.
A lot up, fortunately. But Black Friday, for example, we have like big, and it reminds me this last Black Friday, there was a situation where some of the bottlenecks really hit, right? So just to give context, with a partner, we have a big warehouse in Germany where a lot of wineries put things in and we ship out from there. But apparently we got too many orders. What happened? Yeah,
so we're still a small company looking at employees and people working. So the scalability can be a bit, the percentage of the scale is huge when we hit Black Friday.
Yeah.
The weeks around Black Friday and campaigning there, people want their wine before Christmas.
Yes.
So if one truck is delayed or canceled, we will have wine piling up at the warehouse, not being able to ship out. When we don't have maybe doors enough line holes enough to transport out, then it all snowball effects.
Yeah, exactly.
And then at the end is customer services. So we have a lot of dependencies in this flow from the wine that can create a bottleneck, and that creates, of course, backlog in customer services, and we need to resolve that before Christmas, because otherwise it will snowball up.
And by the way, if my wine is missing, I'm going to contact you every day.
Yeah,
every single day.
I know.
And so
we have a special line.
Yeah, I know that. I've figured that out now. I'm trying to go undercover sometimes, so you won't know.
Yeah.
But we talked about this, how many requests we have per day, so like 1,200 or whatever per day. So what happens when this? Do you go to 10,000 or do you go to 5,000 a day? What happens on the support side?
On the support side, because we have right now a deflection rate for the chatbot on 66%, it's not as much this year as it were last year, because many of the requests will be the same when you have peak.
Where is my
wine? What we call Vismo. Where is my wine?
Yeah.
Where's my order?
Yeah.
Vismo. So it can be resolved by communication, transactional communication, or just like mass communication. We are delayed. Your order is here. This is the next step that will come.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's also something that we have learned throughout the years. We start to prepare for Black Friday.
On Black Friday.
In August.
August.
Latest August. July
is
the beginning of all preparation for Black Friday.
But the learnings, when I say Black Friday, I mean previous Black Friday, because you learn so much, and we got to be ready for this next year, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That's it for today. Thank you very much for watching and listening. And Silje, thank you for coming and telling us everything about global operations and support. A lot of fun, and I hope our users found it interesting. So please rate and review wherever you listen to podcasts, and send us an email, maybe even a soundbite at podcast@vivino.com. We might feature it right here. Thank you very much for listening.